Summoner is an action role-playing game that's been made in 2000 that is published by THQ and has been developed by Volition. In this game you play as Joseph, an ordinary peasant farmer who is also born a summoner who can control the rings of summoning. Joseph and his companions travel throughout the land to acquire the rings to protect the realm of Medivh from attacks by tyrannical Emperor Murad of Orania, who is determined to destroy the summoner and prevent the prophecy that foretells the end of the Emperor's reign by his hands. The characters must also simultaneously attempt to restore the power of the air god, Urath, and the foil of the deprivations of the disciples of the fire and death goddess, Nemesis Lahara. I love this game. And I kind of hate this game at the same time. Now, this game has came out in 2000, and I was only 10 years old when this game was released. So I did not know anything about this game existing. I was too busy playing Kingdom Hearts, Dragon Ball Z Budokai, Devil May Cry, Beautiful Joe. So I didn't really know nothing about Summoner. But a lot of people from YouTube and through other social media websites has talked about this game, and they still bring it up towards this day. And I'm still surprised. I may not get a lot of views doing this review, but I think, in my opinion, I think it should be addressed because from what's going on now, people are bringing back the retrospective playing old video games, and that's what I'm doing. When sometimes I need to take a break from all the good graphics and just extraordinary gameplay, and I just want to go back to the old school. And by me picking up Summoner, I was surprised how cheap it was. Because everybody talks about it and everybody brings it up that played Summoner. And they don't really have anything bad to say about it, honestly. And I thought that was a shocker. Two things why it shocked me. One, because it's an old game and no one talks about it. But when they talk about it, they just have good praise about it. Another reason why it shocked me is because of the pricing. Now, knowing by this game being made in 2000, there's a lot of games that was made back then that is rare, that is up in price. And I thought Summoner was going to be an arm and a leg, but honestly, I was surprised the game was only $10. I bought it for only $10 on eBay. It's probably a little bit more higher now, probably like around $15 to $20. Honestly, I think it's worth it. And it shocked me of how cheap it was. But by me playing it, I end up understanding why it's so cheap. Let's talk about the good things about the game. First of all, the game picks up pretty quickly. As you play with Joseph, and you begin to see everything fall apart in front of his eyes as he begins to try to find answers. As soon as the game starts off, you lose a lot of people in your family, and you get stuck in a brink of just trying to defend yourself. Now, Joseph can't fight. I just like the fact that you play as a vulnerable person that is trying to defend himself. They did the same thing with Nio when you play as William's character when he gets shipwrecked and he ended up being a prisoner and he had no choice but to fight his way to find answers. Summoner does that, but at the same time, it puts you on a brink of just really trying to understand how the game works. So you're under pressure, and at the same time, your mind is literally uncomfortable as enemies are trying to attack you, and you try to know the moveset of your character. With an RPG game, you would think that they have a strategy to it. They do have a strategy of how to fight, but at the same time, by you maneuvering and knowing everything else about the game terminology, you need a strategy guide. This is a game that you definitely need to buy a strategy guide for, because the game doesn't really hold you by the hand of knowing where to go, knowing how to get there, and most importantly, knowing how to complete the game. There was so many times I got so stuck playing this game and just knowing the obstacles of just trying to get to where I needed to go. That, and by just going through other obstacles as well, which I'm going to be talking about pretty soon. I talked about the pacing of the combat, and it doesn't pussyfoot around when it comes to the story and just the pacing. The combat is creative. It's creatively done. It kind of gives me that Neo the world ends with you vibes, where you have to use the directional pad and just using certain button maneuvers to maneuver your character and maneuver his moveset. I like that with Summoner a lot, because when it comes to you leveling up your character or just leveling up your party, the way for them to attack is for you to use the up, down, left, right pad of the controller. And I thought it was cool. Some people had a problem with it, but I didn't have a problem with it at all. I instantly got used to it, and honestly, it kept me on the heels because the enemy AI is no joke. The enemy AI will keep you balanced, will keep you thrilled, and will keep you like very, 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 very close to death. There was so many times I thought I could die on this game. Not just because of the combat, but because the game is very scarce when it comes to giving you the right weapon you need to defeat certain enemies, because there are ice enemies, there are poison enemies, there are fire enemies, there are different types of elemental enemies to choose from to fight you. So they all have weaknesses, and there were times where even when I got late to the game, they would give me weapons that I didn't freaking need. So right when I got very frustrated is when they gracefully gave me the weapon that I wanted. I did not mind that. I thought that was a way for me to know how to use my characters in a careful way. I like to fear my character dying in a video game. It makes it more engaging, and Summoner has done that in my opinion. As for the characters, I did talk about Joseph's terminology of what the game represents for his main plot, but Joseph's moveset is, well, he has mostly of the advantages. He can use a sword. He can basically use anything you can give him, just as long as you give him the right skill set to level him up so he can use it correctly. But his main squeeze is the summoner ability, where you can use different types of summons to help him and help your crew get through those tight spaces of just being in the brink of death through the enemies. Now, each of the summoning creatures are pretty cool. I liked them all, but the one that stood out for me was the Minotaur. The Minotaur always helped me out a lot. He just has so much good range when it comes to his attack with his axe, double axe or mace. I'm pretty sure it was an axe. And mostly I think everybody else could agree with that, because when I looked at gameplay footages on YouTube, everybody used the Minotaur, and to even prove this, he's actually even in the front cover of the freaking game. So I think that's actually the producer's recommendation to choose him. But he's not really useful all the time. Most of the times he's useful, but when you're fighting an enemy that you need to really think hard to how to defeat him, especially the main enemy, the Minotaur may not be enough. But it depends on how you level up your characters. Then we have 3 other characters that joined Joseph on his journey, and I didn't have no problem with the other characters at all. They all did pretty good. They stood out for me in a way where I thought each of them did pretty good with their pacing, their character development, and just how they play a part on just trying to help Joseph succeed for his destiny. And one of them that really helped me out of liking them a lot was Rosalind. Rosalind was a great character. I thought Rosalind, even though she is a mage and she at one point didn't want to join Joseph, I felt her reason and I felt her drive. Same thing with Jakar. Jakar didn't like Joseph either. And I don't want to spoil too much, but Jakar, he's basically the brutes. He's basically the muscle of the game, and you need to level him up, and you need to make him strong enough, because I guarantee you, when you level him up correctly, he is a freaking cannon. When I was in the final boss of the game, he basically took down the boss for me. He basically did. Even though I had Rosalind make sure that we was all like invulnerable to the magic spells and the one-hit elementals, Jakar, he was a daredevil. He just jumped into the battle. He ended up just killing enemies one by one, doing at least like 500 to 400 damage. I was like, Jesus Christ. But it's like I said, it all depends on how you level up your character. But Jakar, once you see him and once you play the game and when you see how every character presents themselves, it's all common sense basically of how you use them. Same thing with Felice. Felice, picture her as Catwoman. She's a little bit of a thief. She, I can't really say liar, but she's a swindler and stuff. She, at the same time, she likes to backstab people, but she doesn't do that to her own, she doesn't do that to Jacob and everybody else. She does that to enemies and people that you need to do that to progress through the game, and you need her on this game. You need her a lot, because there are some times where you need to open a door to quick your way into these certain areas, and if you level up her picklocking skill or her other skills or whatever, she can help you unlock certain doors, help you get certain items and certain weapons that you can get from enemies, but they have like a bag that is locked that you just can't open for some reason. This is a game that was made a long time ago, so I can't really go hard on it. But she really does help a lot, and thanks to me leveling her up the right way, it made me find some good weapons in the game that really helped me out in the future. Each of the characters played their part in the game pretty well. Now, when you start the game, the leveling up feature is important. You need to make sure you level up your character to at least level 25 or 26. And thank God they have this free roaming game feature where when you start the game, you begin to, it shows like an open world map, and you can walk around the map so you can see where to go. But at the same time, as you're going, you get across these encounters where you can fight different enemies in certain different time points. And sometimes you go and do other missions as well, but it all depends on where you go, I guess. But this does help a lot. This does help your character level up pretty quickly, and I suggest after you get 4 of your characters, do that grind, do that farming, because it gets harder and harder and harder. Trust me. And I thought to myself, how can you level up your game quickly? It's the only way, honestly. You can go to different areas, but you're going to get into encounters while you do that. So in the meantime, please don't avoid those encounters. Just try to level up your character, because you're going to regret it in the future. Now, as you can see, the game does good when it comes to it being an RPG and what it represents with the story, the character development, the combat maneuvers, and just overall the ending. I thought the ending of the game was good. It had 2 different endings, and each of them was good. It was satisfying, but not enough for me to forgive the game for what had driven me up to frustration. Now it's time for me to talk about the bad things about this game. The game freezes a lot. The game freezes constantly, and that's like, it can be irritating. In fact, it was irritating. There were so many times where I was in heat of battle, or there was times I was actually done fighting a battle and the game would just freeze. Now people would say, oh, this game was old, give it a break, but come on. Back then, that happened too. I didn't play Summoner back then, but it does not make any excuse of me letting the game go for right now. I feel like if the game freezes constantly and the producers and the developers makes a game, you can find a way around it. So that's bullcrap, okay? If you're a game developer, and if I'm a game developer, and if we was playing a game, we was testing out and the game kept freezing, we can find a way to try to fix that. There's no issues of that game trying to be in a defense of you just trying to say that game is okay for it being freezing like that. I just that's freezing without glitches. There are glitches in this game. There are good glitches to the points where when you get in heat in the battle, some enemies stand still so they won't kill you. In my opinion, that's a double-edged sword, because there are some times on the game where there were some items that I wanted to get and then it wouldn't show up, or there were some items that would be there and it just wouldn't let me activate them. Sub-items and key items. And there was a part on the game where I had to find an item for me to progress through the game, and it was not there at all. Now, for people who have played the PS2 version, I noticed that there was not really a lot of PS2 videos on YouTube to try to get this item for me to progress through the game, and I had to use Felice to get this item. And for some reason, this item wouldn't show up for me to progress through the game. So, in my opinion, the game was over for me. But thanks to my good friend Elijah, he told me that there was a way for me to find that item by going on his website called GameFAQs.com that you can download save data from games that people have played, and hopefully the item will be there or the glitch will be gone. Now I was thinking to myself, who's gonna play Summoner? You know what I'm saying? But it showed up. I mean, like the person somebody actually had that game there, and they had the files on there for you to try to get over that glitch. So I knew I wasn't the only person that been through that problem. So thank you, Elijah, for you giving me that, give me the link to the website, and thank you who is ever watching this who has done that, has gone away for that glitch for me. But for those who was watching this review and y'all just left the game alone, I have to apologize, and I am sorry, because that's fucked up for the game and for the producers to not even see that around. And That's a major flaw in my opinion, and it takes a very, very, very big score, because what is the most important aspect of playing a game? Being able to play it. And if you can't play the game just because of the producer's lack of noticing how fucked up the game is when it comes to the glitches happening like this, for you to not even progress further, how can you give it a good score no matter how good the game is if you can't even fucking beat it? Exactly. If you think that's bad enough, I'd even tell you the main issue. The main issue is not the game freezing. The main issue is not the lag. And the main issue is not the main key items glitching and you just not be able to find them. The issue is the camera. There are times where the camera will literally just move on its own. It will just go under your character. It will look under Felice's and Rosalind's skirt, especially when I'm not kidding, especially when you try to fight enemies and the enemies are literally just all over the place. You try to angle the you try to angle the camera the right way just so you can just get the right angle to just try to attack the enemies. And if you're, one thing I hate about the game the most with the camera angle is that it's very stingy when it comes to you using certain healing potions or just trying to put elemental effects away from your characters, but you can't because they're not around the camera. So you gotta tilt the camera a certain way, just so they can get healed, or so you can get rid of the poison and stuff that's affecting the players. And they don't even gotta be far away. They can just be right by you, but the camera is not there. That can be freaking irritating, and it was. And especially by the end and a half of the game, I've been through a lot by the end of the game. I've been through a lot of glitches, been through a lot of freezing, and been through a lot of camera issues with this game by the last half of it. It was like the game knew I was getting ready to wrap it up, so it decided to give me all different types of problems before I end up completing the game. If the enemies wasn't a problem enough. At the end of the day, the game is not bad. The game is not bad if you look past all the glitches and if you look past all the freezing, the lag. Oh yeah, the game does have lag too, and that's what causes to freezes a lot. And just the key items not appearing in the game for you to progress. Like I said, if you are interested in playing the game Summoner, be aware of just what I've told you. And if you have a PS2 version of the game, go on GameFAQs.com and download the file there. If you don't know how to download the file and you have a PS3 that's backwards compatible like I do to play my PS2 games, I will guide you step by step through it. In my opinion, by those issues being on this game, it doesn't really matter how good the game is. If an item like that, if an issue like that is causing a player to not beat the game, and you gotta literally patch the game yourself just so it can be fixed, that's a problem. That is a definite flaw in my opinion. I'm gonna have to give Summoner a C-. I was thinking about giving it a D, but the game is not a complete failure. It's just it has functioning issues, and if you use your brain hard enough, then I guess you can get around it. But it's subjective. Like, what does irritate you? What does piss you off? And Summoner will play a place in my heart in a good way and in a bad way. I talk about this game so much to my friends and to people that I'm cool with that play games on a regular, but I do bring up the issues as well because I try to let people know, look, this is a good game, but you gotta be aware of just what's to come with it. Summoner is like this. Summoner is like you buying a very cute animal, like a very cute puppy. Think about a husky Think about a husky that has a red ribbon and has blue eyes. And it bites. It bites a lot. And that's what Summoner is. It's a very good game. It pulls you in, has very good combat. But it will fuck you up when it comes to the frustration of just trying to tame it in a way for you to even make it playable. You have to be ready for that. Well, that's all I have to say for today. Please stay tuned for more my upcoming reviews and anime videos and game videos headed your way. This is Hugo, your critic teacher, and you guys have a good day.